And so, ladies and gentlemen, in behalf of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, more than 6,000 strong, we welcome you to the first Presidential Command performance. This is a great first for all of us, representing an industry that is as old as the livestock industry is in our country. You see, more than 100 years ago in the ranches of the West, friendly competitions were held between the cowboys who represented those ranches, and they roped steers and they rode bucking horses. And from that has evolved a sport that is just as typically American, as has been pointed out, as anything we've ever produced in this country. And we firmly believe that the men and women who represent us, professional cowboys and cowgirls, represent the last stronghold of individualism that we have left in our country today. They're not after any handouts. It's what they can do with ability and luck in arenas such as this that enable them to make a living. Because you see, a Brahma bull doesn't know whether there is a black cowboy, and we have a black cowboy as our world's champion this year. He doesn't know whether there's a rookie, a seasoned veteran, or the son of a bank robber riding him. And our people have a very good creed. We believe that the harder you try, the better luck you will have. And these men and women represent some moral fiber in our country that we need today. We welcome all of those people from overseas at the ambassador and the attaché level who might be seeing their first sport from our country, the United States. And with representatives here this afternoon from the judicial, from the executive branch, and many members of Congress, members from the House and from the United States Senate, and we look to you as Americans with pride and with admiration because you are going to chart the course of our great nation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
You can actually feel the electricity in the air as we await the arrival of the President. This, of course, is going to be the first opportunity for most of the contestants and staff to see the President of the United States in person.
And accompanying our President, our host today, a competing member of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, Secretary of Commerce, Mac Baldridge.
What a thrill it is for us all to see our nation's leaders dressed in jeans, boots, and hats. Brings you a little closer to America because they look just like us. It has to be a great thrill for Miss Rodeo America, Brenda Lee Bonagowski, as she meets the President.
We will feature here this afternoon some of our greatest champions, past and present. And first of all, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet some of the greatest champions that our sport of rodeo has ever known. And now let's meet them individually, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, 3 times world's champion saddle bronc rider and the president of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, Sean Davis. 5 times the world's champion all-around cowboy and 16 total world's titles, Jim Shoulders. 2 times world's champion, once bareback, and 6 times world's champion saddle bronc rider, Casey Tibbs. And finally, twice our bull riding king and 6 times the holder of the most coveted title in our sport, that of the all-around champion cowboy of the world, Larry Mahan. And now let's say hello to our reigning world's champions. First of all, presenting the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association banner, our present world's champion all-around cowboy from the golden state of California. Here is Chris Lieber. The world's champion bull rider, also from California, Charlie Sampson. Colorado has produced one of the greatest bareback riding title holders we've ever known, the present world's champion bareback rider, Bruce Ford of Kersey, Colorado. We have a little glamour, a lot of glamour in our sport. Here's a pretty lady that's a world's champion barrel racer from Arizona, pretty Jan Hansen. And the first man ever to hold consecutive world's titles in calf roping and steer roping from Durant, Oklahoma, Roy Cooper. Also from Oklahoma, calling Kellyville home, the world's champion steer wrestler, Stan Williamson. finally, the world's champion saddle bronc rider from Mesquite, Texas, the Hawkeye, Monty Henson. And Mr. President, our past and present world's champions now salute you. Those of us in our sport of rodeo do not feel it's old-fashioned to love the flag of our country. And at every rodeo performance we present it in this manner. Here then is the greatest flag on God's green earth today, this one, Old Glory. And if our flag could talk, here is what we think she might say. I was born on the 4th of July back in 1776, and as they say out west, I was bred right. Because you see, my father was the Declaration of Independence and my mother was the Bill of Rights. I'm many things to many people. I'm America. I'm more than 220 million strong in the ghosts of millions who lived and died for me. And ever since I've been a flag, there have been trouble spots in this old world, and I've always stayed until it was over there. And by so doing, I left many of my finest young men who made the supreme sacrifice to perpetuate my brand of liberty. And I left them in places like Tarawa and Iwo Jima during World War II, the slopes of Korea and the steamy jungles of Vietnam, and lately in the Middle East. I'm a cotton field down south, and I'm a wheat field in the Midlands. And I'm old Freckles Brown riding a bull at the National Finals Rodeo that had never been ridden before. And I'm a wobbly-legged calf getting his first bit of nourishment from his mammy in the Western Range country. I'm 300,000 churches where my people worship, and I'm the hushed voice of a choir in a cathedral. You see, I was born in freedom, and God willing, in freedom I'll spend the rest of my days. May my people always have the strength, the honor, the integrity, and the courage to keep me free and a beacon of hope for the entire world. Yes, that's what I would say if I could talk. Our gracious and heavenly Father, we pause in the midst of a very festive occasion as we prepare to present this sport spawned from an industry, the livestock, and whose men and women perpetuate those great individualistic traits of the men and women who settled the West. As cowboys, Lord, we don't ask you for any special favors. We don't ask that we never break a barrier at a timed event, that we draw around that shoot-fighting bull or the horse we know deep down we can't ride. But in life's arena, we ask your help and your guidance. Ride with us, if you will, and help us live the life you'd have us live, so that when we make that last ride that's inevitable, to the place up there where the grass is green and lush and stirrup high and the water is crystal clear and deep, you'll tell us as we enter there, our entry fees are paid. We ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association presents our salute to the government of the United States of America.
Our very impressive opening, performed beautifully by Clem McSpadden, who, by the way, is a former United States Congressman from Oklahoma, PRCA rodeo announcer, and general manager of the National Finals Rodeo.
Well, down to the buck and shoots we go. In the first event in our rodeo program, it is the Cowboys bareback bronc riding contest. Larry Peabody, 26-year-old cowboy, twice to the National Finals Rodeo. Very talented young man. Good horse under him here this afternoon. Uncle Ed, take a look. Here he comes right now. Larry Peabody, come on now, do it. Better he spurs, better he'll score. Come on now, go. Hang on, Larry. There's the whistle. 8 seconds work is done.
And Larry Peabody scores a 75 to set the pace in the bareback riding. Now, it's amazing to see the exciting look on the faces of some of our spectators. And for example, we have ambassadors from some 46 foreign countries in our audience today. They're watching rodeo for the first time.
We're a young cowboy, Mickey Young, here he is. Red Wing, the name of the horse. Come on, Mickey, try. A 75-point ride in the lead right now. Get a little better than that.
The Cowboys' minds are bound to be subconsciously on the White House barbecue and meeting the president personally, but also their competitive instincts and pride in their sport actually drive them to compete as if the world titles were at stake. And Mickey Young of Farron, Utah scores a 73. Now let's go to our next contestant, T.J. Walter.
President of the Pro Rodeo Cowboys Association, buck and shoot number 4. Buck and shoot number 4 for the action here. As T.J. Walter of Stephenville, Texas, 10 times to the National Finals Rodeo. As this begins set right now, the horse we call Slick Rock, National Finals horse. Good horse, the Cowboys drawn. Watch this 10-time NFR Cowboy do it right now. Here he is, T.J. Ride. Now do it on the Slick Rock. Go on, go on. Do it. Oh, ooh. T.J. feeling good today. T.J. Walter of Stephenville, Texas.
All right, now, TJ has ridden for world titles like we were talking a while ago, and the way he's riding this horse, it looks like he is again. And TJ Walter with a 79 score is going to take the lead in the bareback riding.
Number 3 for the action here, 37-year-old veteran of the Arena Wars, many times to the NFR. Here he is. Ooh, good horse. Cut back. Come on, chicks, stay up ride. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Well, Chick Elm's in a little bit of trouble there. Let me explain what happened to you.
Chick Elms actually is very, very sore. He's been rodeoing hard, trying to earn a seat at the National Finals Rodeo. Probably shouldn't even gotten on this horse, but he wanted to ride for the president. I know he's a little disappointed, but it has to be a great thrill for Chick nonetheless.
Chick Elm. Hey, 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 look at this. Oh, he's feeling good today. J.C. Trujillo.
JC tips his hat to the president. He's really been looking forward to this. Now, a lot of JC's fans know that he is the mayor of a little town up in Pyramid, Colorado. And he jokingly said when he had a chance to meet the president, and we see him right there enjoying the rodeo, he wanted to talk to him about a little urban renewal project up there in Pyramid, Colorado. Boy, what a great guy he is. Now, he's riding for it all. We might point out that the contestants are going to receive a beautiful gold belt buckle from the president, and it has his insignia on the back of it. It's a one-of-a-kind, and they are riding hard for it. Take a look at JC now as he ends the ride and does tip his hat right in the middle of that ride. That'll show you the spirit of this great cowboy from Colorado. Now here's the reigning champ of the world, Bruce Ford. Bruce Ford has been in these tight positions before. He's running for the world title again this year, and this has to be his big moment.
Bruce Ford of Percy, Colorado. Born free. Watch this cowboy just rear back and spur. That's what he does.
Single one-handed, the other hand high in the air. Bruce Ford sits down.
Now Now here you can see Bruce leaning back in his traditional style, reaching far for that horse. He knows he has to make a good ride because T.J. Walter and J.C. Trujillo are holding the lead with a 79 score. The contestants at the Presidential Rodeo drew for the livestock, so they have the same breaks of the game that they encounter every day. Here are our two happy winners, T.J. Walter and J.C. Trujillo. Boy, look at the smiles on their face. They are two happy bareback riders. What a big win for them today. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank Steve Gander and his entire staff, all of our contract people for making it such an exciting performance for all of our guests. Here we see Vicki Tyre performing her Roman riding act. She's one of the more colorful performers that we have associated with rodeo. And again, it is such a pleasure to view the audience from time to time and see their reaction to our game and our specialty performances like you see right there. It might be interesting to note that we sent out 8,000 invitations with a positive response, accompanied by, we might point out, requests for 4,000 additional tickets, making the rodeo attended by approximately 12,000 people. Now, this young lady and our very adequate in-house announcer, Mr. Dwayne Peters, explaining to the audience how important the timing of this approach to the fire jump would be for Vicki Tyre. Everyone on the edge of their seats, she hopes she makes this and does. This has to be the biggest thrill of the year for Vicki Tyre, a highlight of her life performing for the president. Here we have a view of the president's box, and we see some of our fine sponsors seated with him. Also, Mr. and Mrs. Mac Baldridge, the executive vice president and president of the PRCA, also seated with Mr. Reagan. Now we go to the steer wrestling and our reigning champion, Stan Williamson.
Starts too soon and breaks the barrier. It'll be a 10-second penalty added on to his total time. Stan Williamson, Kellyville, Oklahoma. 2 times. Winner of the world. Look at this. Down on him now. Got to bring him over. Watch. Place the horns up in that hip. Try to get his hand up and around the nose. Uh-oh, don't lose him now, Stan. Don't lose him now. These cattle are tough. They're rangy and they're strong. Hard to handle. When you see this man having the trouble he's having, now he brings him over. And he is destined to go again, and you can count on it for a long, long time. You'll hear his name mentioned in the winner's circle of professional rodeo across the world. Here we go. Talk about a tough young cowboy. Watch this. He didn't give up. Come on, bring him over. Quicker than 7 flat. The youngster, John W. Jones Jr., less than half his age. Currently in the lead. Watch Harley go for it now. Come on, Harley. Do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, 6 and 8 milliseconds. 6.8.
Now, this veteran Harley May, a former president of our association, has to be very happy with this run, 6 and 8. And, you know, he hasn't bulldogged a steer in about 3 or 4 years. You can see by our previous runs by John W. Jones and Stan Williamson the sincere try of our cowboys. And Stan, by the way, is competing injured, but again, he had to try it for the president. Here is Joel Edmondson. Now, this is the cowboy that's in the lead for the world title this year. And it's an interesting story about this guy throughout his very colorful career. He started out by winning the circuit finals. Then he went on to win our Pro Tour televised portion of rodeo last year. Now he's in the lead for the world title. And now, with a 6.6, he's in the lead for the presidential rodeo. It would be interesting to know and read this guy's mind right now as we watch the replay of Joel. What would be the highlight of his year if he goes ahead and wins this contest, wins the presidential gold belt buckle, and then wins the world title and that gold belt buckle? I just wonder which would be the most interesting and important to him.
Keith Bill Louisiana, trying to beat 6.6. Joel Edmondson of Columbus, Kansas. He is the man in the lead right now. He's in the driver's seat. See if he can hold it. Barrier rope stretched across the front. Remember that head start rule. Gary waiting patiently for that steer to be standing straight. I direct eyes forward. Once he calls for him, it's too late to worry about it then. He's ready. Here he is. Come on, Gary. You're going to have to hurry. Get down in there, Gary. Get down in there now. Do it, do it, do it. Don't waste time. Don't look.
You know, these cowboys came here to perform exhibition. They wanted to make a good showing, present our professional rodeo in good taste. But their competitive attitude has taken over. It's become a very tough contest. And in the steer wrestling, Big Joel Edmondson comes up with that all-important win. What a happy Kansas cowboy he is now, Joel Edmondson.
A real treat for you right now. I know that you will enjoy in the contest arena the art of the American cutting horse. You are going to see an exhibition of cutting horse ability right now. The American cutting horse, the classic test of intelligence, training, breeding, and skill. Now, you know, many factors go into making a cutting champion. And to understand the distinction, the contest must be seen from the judge's point of view. Now, first to ride this afternoon will be Mr. Ken Welch on Doc's Red Ball. Mr. Ken Welch on Doc's Red Ball. He's approaching the herd. Both the horse and the rider must concentrate on moving into the cattle so as to separate just one animal without provoking the others. Now, he cannot provoke a disturbance. Performance is judged in part by the activity of the camp. Rider, once he has indicated a specific camp, he's got one cut away from the herd. It's like a lively one here for Ken Welch and Doc's Red Ball. Notice the slack reins, the rider sitting still. Camp isolated, controlling the camp by speed, agility, balance, and cow sense. Watch this horse go, would you? Now watch Ken keep an eye on the cat. The horse likewise. Ken taking quite an athlete just to stay on board without being bruised or thrown from the saddle. He says that's enough, ladies and gentlemen. What do you say?
Ken is quite an athlete. Ken is a former PRCA saddle bronc rider, former qualifier for the National Finals Rodeo, and now he's in the cutting horse business. Next to work is the lovely Tina Alexander. She's a family member of the famous King Ranch family out of Texas. Here we have a chance to see the American quarter horse in action, and this has to be a big thrill for members of the Cutting Horse Association to perform in front of the president and, of course, all of our special guests today. We thought it would be very interesting in our professional rodeo to give our guests an opportunity to see where our game came from. This is the kind of work, obviously, that you would see on authentic ranch work on some of our big ranches across the country. These beautiful horses, and of course the thrill to our audience watching them work. Once again, we refer to viewing our audience from time to time and seeing their response to our Western way of life, and of course our game of professional rodeo.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Tina. That's really nicely done indeed. Nice exhibition here this afternoon. Well, tell you what, let's do now. Let's go back to the bucket sheet, son. You ready for some more of that? Cowboys, some of them right now. Here it is. Right now. Dog music.
Hang on, Sean. Right, stay in there. Hang on.
Now, Sean, of course, this weekend is serving as official host to the President of the United States, representing the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. He had discussed whether or not he would have time to ride in the rodeo, but obviously wanted to, and we can understand that. Among his busy activities, we'd like to point out that Sean is also a coordinator of the equestrian activities for the College of Southern Idaho. He's a very, very busy man. A little later on in our performance, we'll be making a very special presentation. And Sean, obviously, one of the coordinators for the presidential rodeo that we're enjoying here today.
Bucket shoot number 6. Watch the action. Shoot 6. Here he is. A possible total score of 100 points. Monty pulled the ripcord and bailed out of there like he does in his classic.
Well, Monty with one of those classic dismounts that he thrills the audience here today. Now look at the ride that Hawkeye is putting on this horse. And again, we point out that these guys are competing seriously. They came here, as we stated earlier, to offer an exhibition in their contest, but they're going for the chips, and this is a good ride by Hawkeye. 78 points for Monty Henson.
Count moving in effect, first jump out of the chute. Cowboy must have both spurs planted firmly above the break of the horse's shoulders and hold them there for the first jump out. Now he wants to spur the horse fore and aft from the shoulder to the back of the saddle. The better he does that and keeping rhythm with the animal and the motion and the way that he bucks, the better he'll score. Take a look. Here he is right now. Bud Monroe. Valley Mills, Texas Cowboy. Bud 6 times to the National Finals Rodeo and a good smooth ride.
Now, Bud Monroe, a former reserve champ of the world, and obviously as the length of the rodeo had to be held to a minimum, a selection of contestants was made from current and past world's champions, as well as current title contenders and competing members of the board of directors of the PRCA. Now, Bud getting after this horse in good shape. And again, we cannot overemphasize how thrilling this has to be for all of our contestants at the Presidential Rodeo today. What a thrill it is. Our next contestant, Brad Germanson out of North Dakota. And his career has taken him a long way. It's taken him to a world championship in '81, now to Washington, D.C., and back in the lead for the title here in '83. We talked to Brad's parents a little earlier this week. They traveled to Washington, D.C. to watch their son compete in the Presidential Rodeo, and, of course, to take a tour of Washington, D.C. And, of course, it has to be a very, very exciting time for this North Dakota family. Speaking of our qualification, or selection, as we should say, of the contestants for the Presidential Rodeo, obviously, we'd like to have had all of our membership, or all of the cowboys and cowgirls competing here. Of course, it was physically impossible, but the champions and the title contenders, the people that we have here, I think are representing our sport of pro rodeo with a lot of dignity. Now here's another of our great cowboys. Next in the saddle bronc riding is Bobby Berger.
And a former champion of the world in this event. Let's watch the former champ do it right now. Bobby Berger from Lexington, Oklahoma.
Bobby Berger in with a good score of 75. He's a member of the board of directors of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. Look at the fans take a close look at him. And again, you must remember, they are watching rodeo for the very first time. As we watch the slow-mo on television, our fans have the same privilege here in Capitol Center. Following each of the contests, we rerun it on a big 4-sided screen to add to the enjoyment of all of our fans, our guests, and the dignitaries here today. And now our next contestant, another former champ of the world in saddle bronc riding. It's a South Dakota cowboy, Clint Johnson. All right, Clint really after this horse. He's a classy rider, and he's trying hard today. Now, we're playing the game under the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association rules, and the markout rule prevails. Clint missed his horse, it is no score.
See what they say. Gary marking George Gibb down in the field, marking the scores.
Flamboyancy, but also for his talent in the saddle bronc riding. He's drawn a good horse. He is in buck and shoot number one of the action here. And so far, his very good friend who is helping him get things squared away, Monty Hawkeye Henson, is the man in the lead in the bronc riding with a 78. He has to be more than 78 points to win the presidential saddle bronc riding. Everything's on it now. Let's see what he does. Big buck. Take a look. Bobby Brown. Go on. Third. Go on. Yes. Look at this, huh?
Bobby Brown, known for his style of thrilling the audience. And I guess maybe we can credit this guy with probably initiating the jump-off that we see in bronc riding now. And he does it in classy style here. This big old horse, Big Buck, that he is on, a horse that was brought in from a Kansas farmer about 10 or 12 years ago to be tried out. And now can you imagine? The horse is in Washington, D.C. Look at the timing of this horse. You see how he jumps in the air. Now that's ideal for Bobby's jump. Bobby said, if I could only tip my hat to the president today, it'd be the thrill of my life. And that's exactly what he does. Bobby, here's another big thrill for you. You've just scored an 80 ride. You have won the Presidential Rodeo Bronc Riding. Bobby Brown.
Well, right here in Washington, centered in Rock Creek Park, there is a very special center for therapy for the handicapped through horseback riding activities. Now, it's called the National Center for Therapeutic Riding. And right now in the arena, several young participants of the program riding horses led by our PRCA World Champion athletes. I want you to know that since 1974, more than 2,500 persons, all handicapped in some way, have been given a leg up through the NCTR program. I tell you, it truly has been needed. Now, one young man who has participated in the National Center for Therapeutic Riding program has gone on to participate and excel in horsemanship activities in the Northeast, and he performs for you now. I want you to please make welcome George S. Patton, Jr., ladies and gentlemen, from Boston, Mass., the grandson of this country's great military leader, General George S. Patton, and son of Major General George S. Patton, who is here today to see his son ride. Now watch this as he puts that horse through his paces to show you the progress that has been made. A very courageous young man. Showing you putting the horse through his paces right now. What do you think? Thank you. You know, the driving force behind the president, director of the center, ladies and gentlemen, right now, Mr. Robert D. Douglas. He is aided by a group of NCTR directors and advisory council and honorary chairman from the NCTR. Please make welcome Mrs. Midge Baldridge. Joining them, ladies and gentlemen, the president of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, Mr. Sean Davis.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to say a special thanks to Mrs. Baldridge and Mr. Douglas, and it gives me a special honor to present a $5,000 check on behalf of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association for the National Center of Therapeutic Riding in Washington, D.C. And we sure appreciate what you've done, and hopefully this $5,000 will help perpetuate this great event. Thank you.
Thank you, and a tremendous group of courageous individuals. These youngsters, don't you think? Yes, they are. Look at that, a big smile. You bet.
Now we'd like to welcome the banners of our corporate sponsors of Pro Rodeo. First, the banner of Winston, representing the famous Winston Rodeo Series program that also provides the beautiful scoreboards for our fans all across the country, one of our pioneers of corporate sponsorship of rodeo. Here is the banner of Frontier Airlines, the official airlines of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. And the banner of Wrangler, sponsors of our Wrangler Pro officiating system. The beautiful color of Coors, the famous Coors Shootout program. And Black Velvet, the people that support the livestock industry of professional rodeo. Here is the banner of Justin, providing the Justin Healer our sports medicine program. And the flag of Resist All Hat Company, our sponsors of our Rookie of the Year program. Coca-Cola, representing youth in rodeo. And the banner of Dodge Trucks, with our Dodge Challenge, a new segment of Pro Rodeo. The famous banner of Heston, the sponsors of our National Finals telecast. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors for helping make our presidential rodeo possible. Now it's to the Cowgirls event. It's the barrel race, and a very exciting time for our rodeo fans. To lead us off, Arkansas Cowgirl Lynn Flynn. Former national finals contestant comes in too tight on the first barrel. Lynn picks up a 5-second penalty. These Cowgirls ride under the banner of the Women's Professional Rodeo Association. And as Lynn crosses the timeline with a 15.8, the penalty pushes that to 20.8. Here's a glimpse of Mr. Jerome Robinson, our production manager for the rodeo. What a great job Jerome has done.
Lynn Flynn with a 5-second penalty. Now we'll go to Jan Hansen. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the champ of the world. 1982's #1 barrel racing cowgirl, Jan Hansen. That girl, come on, Tucson, Arizona cowgirl. Now let's take it on out of here. What do you say? Look at this. It looks good from here. Let's watch the scoreboard. Ooh, 15.1. 15.1. Beautiful run. 15 1/5 of a second. We move to Kelly Yates. Here's the young cowgirl. Come on, Kelly, go on. Pretty lady. Now you watch her. She's exciting. Let's do it, Kelly. What do you say all the way? Come on, let's go. Go, 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 go. And she did it. 15.0. 15 seconds, and that's all. Maggie Lippert, cowgirl to go. Here's the wine. The world champion all-around cowboy, Chris Lippert, you met earlier. Coyote, California. Maggie, gotta be 15.0. Can you do it? Let's see. Cheer her on. Let's take her all the way to the house. Go for it. 14.8. Oh, yes. I like that. I thought you would too. 14 8/10 of a second. Now we go to Sharon Camarillo, California cowgirl. 5 of the world's champion. No slouch herself. A very talented barrel racing cowgirl. Come on, Sharon, let's do it. Go. You gotta hurry. You gotta hurry. Hurry, hurry. Ooh! Didn't get it done. 15.2.
Oh, the winning run is turned in by Kaki Libbert, the young lady from Dallas, Texas, with a 14.8, and the in-house audience loved the barrel race. Very, very exciting contest, and once again, this has to be a highlight for this young lady. She turned in an excellent run, a 14.8, and we'd like to thank all of the contestants from the Women's Professional Rodeo Association for attending our presidential rodeo. There's your winner, Kaki Libbert. And now here's a very, very exciting segment in our presidential rodeo. As the house lights come down and we spotlight a very, very important part of this contest, we're going to take a look at a segment of the Wrangler bullfighting competition. What we're going to show the in-house audience and you folks on television would be the impact of the bull, the size of the bull, the way he looks the field over. Then we'll take a look at the bullfighters. You'll see the contrast. I guess you can colorfully say that this bull weighs about 1,800 pounds and his opponent will weigh about 175. That's the way it matches up. The idea of the Wrangler bullfight would be a one-on-one competition. Now, we do have the assistance of the barrel man, and here you see our bullfighters that we'll see in competition, including the world champion, Skipper Voss, Rex Dunn, Miles Hare, and Wick Peth. They are judged on their aggressive approach to the bull, also the way they handle him. This is Rex Dunn. He lives at Hastings, Oklahoma. He's known for his extreme, smooth style. So as you watch Rex in action, you have to watch how close he gets to the bull and how smooth he'll get away from him. They're also judged on the way they handle the barrel. There's one of those moves we were talking about. Now here's the reigning champ of the world. This is Skipper Voss. He won the Wrangler bullfighting world title in 1982. And here he hams it up and clowns a little bit with the audience. This is the veteran, 53 years young, Wick Peth out of Bow, Washington. And he's put that little town on the map. There you can see Ben Eby, our barrel man, sticking his hand out there trying to bait the bull a little bit. Here's the guy that won the first world title in Wrangler bullfighting, doing so in 1981. This is Miles Hare, a man well respected by all of the bull riders for his ability, as all of these guys are, to protect them in their contest. And this, of course, is where it all began. The Wrangler program just giving due justice to these courageous people, and it gives them a chance to work for a world title. Now it's back to the calf roping shooter, the timed event shoot. It's the Cowboys calf roping, and here is the noted calf roper of the day. This is Roy Cooper. In the lead for the championship of the world, in the lead for the all-around crown. He has already won, as Clem McSpadden told you earlier in his introduction of this man, the steer roping title. Now you know that it has to be a nervous time for all of these cowboys in all of the contests, but I don't think you're going to see this guy choke up. A good smooth run started here by Roy Cooper. Now once again we talked about the fact that these guys draw for the animals. This calf, not the most desirable one to draw, as you can see, kind of sticking those feet up in Roy's face. It slows his tie down considerably. A 15-1 is what he comes in with, but now we see the penalty for a broken barrier. So a 25-1 and a very disappointing outcome for the run on Roy Cooper. This is Joe Parsons. He's out of Arizona. He's a vice president of our association and a guy that works very, very hard on the administrative staff of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. He's had a good year here in '83. He's in strong contention for the world title if Cooper wasn't in his way. Boy, I'll tell you what, he is going to like that run. Would you look at this? 11-3 for Parson. That was smooth. He got out clean, no barrier penalty. Now, as we take another look at this, you can see that he is rating the calf well, ropes him clean, gets to the calf in good shape. It's hard to do all of those things with the President of the United States watching you, but he's in the lead right now.
Again, the multiple draw. Cowboy having no picking and choose over the cattle. Thus competing the animal draw for the other side to them by our regular officials.
And we wanted it for him. Now, he may be a little disappointed right now, but I'll tell you one thing. We're all mighty proud of this guy.
Man who is in the cattle business. And he's not on the rodeo tour. He is the man to go now. He told me just prior to the rodeo performance, he said, living in California in the vicinity that I do, the close proximity to the president, he said, it thrills me to no end to be here in Washington and to perform before him today. So we're glad to watch him work right now. He wants it bad. Let's see what he can do. 11 threes in the lead. Go for it, Jim. Got a good start. And a boy, Jimmy, come on now. Go, Jimmy, go. Hurry. Oh, no. Ooh, there you go. Now he's got that pig and string down. 1, 2, 3, never give up. That's the American way. You'll get it done someday.
So Jim Warren, a little disappointed at 24-4, but he made a good effort. And again, the breaks of the game. Here's the winner of the calf roping, Joe Parsons. He had a good 11-3 win in the calf roping. Now we remain at the timed event shoot, and here's an event that a lot of the folks in the audience have been waiting for, because as we go to the team roping a little later on, we're going to have a chance to see Mac Baldridge rope. Our leadoff team happened to be the leaders for the world title this year. This is the father-son team of Dick and J.D. Yates out of Pueblo, Colorado. Now the entire Yates family is here. We saw Kelly a little earlier in the barrel race, and Dick's wife and the mother of Kelly and J.D., Jan, is also here enjoying Washington. It's been a great week for all of them. Now Mac, well acquainted with a lot of the team ropers. As we have mentioned earlier, he is an active member of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, so I know this has to be a fun time for him as well. A good head catch. J.D. throws the heel loop under there, but a 5-second penalty for that single heel catch. They have an 8-4 that moves to a 13-4, including the penalty. Now, Bob Ragsdale and Ron Poindexter are out next. Ragsdale, a former president of our association, a left-handed team roper, and a little tough luck there as Ron misses the head loop. It'll be no time for Ragsdale and Poindexter. Next to go will be Leo Camarillo, one of our great champions in team roping, and he's teamed up with Pete Clark. Now, Pete Clark happens to be the son of William Clark, who is the presidential advisor. We might mention that some 20 people have flown in from California just to watch Pete rope in this particular rodeo. All right, he'll do the heading. Camarillo, known as probably one of the greatest heelers we've ever had in all of team roping competition. So the time that has been set by the Yates team, 13-4, even with the penalty, has kind of put the pressure on our team ropers. And again, it's important for all of these guys, whether they happen to be friends of the president or Mac Baldridge or whoever, they'd like to win this, of course. This has to be a great thrill for Pete, roping with Camarillo, of all people. There's the heel loop under there. But now we have the signal from the Wrangler co-official. You see him checking that head loop there? It's going to be an illegal head catch. We were a little afraid of that, a figure eight or the Hondu over the horn. That would be an illegal head catch. So a pretty smooth run goes out the window for Leo Camarillo and Pete Clark, officially taking no time. We come up with the team of Mark Schricker, who is a former national finals winner, and Bob A. Robinson, a great world's champion and a man that now serves as rodeo administrator. The Colorado cowboy Mark Schricker will be roping at the head. He's one of the invited guests here at the Presidential Rodeo by Mac Baldridge himself.
Couple of great guys. Let's watch it work right here.
Oh, they get out good on that steer. All right, Mark fishing a little, but the steer jumps through the loop. So again, we're looking at an illegal head catch. Bob says, I'm going to show the president and all of the guests that I can rope a heel anyway. But it'll be no time officially for Mark Schricker and Bob A. Robinson. What an impressive team we have coming up now. The great Larry Mahan, and he's teamed up with Ken Schiffer. Now here's a man that happens to keep Mac's horses for him back here on the East Coast. Ken Schiffer and Mac practice together. Ken is an FBI agent. Interesting combination of contestants that we have at this rodeo. Larry encountering a very difficult situation and something that'll happen quite often to the heeler. He's forced to dip his loop down. Occasionally the horse's tail gets in the way of it. It happened to Larry today. He probably wishes it had happened somewhere else, but what a great competitor he is. He says it's all in a day's work. So again, we're looking at no time. All right, Stan Harder is the man selected to head for his good friend Mac Baldridge. And do you know, down in this end of Capitol Center in the Coliseum, we have some 1,200 people that selected their seats there so they could watch Mac rope a little closer. Now, if you don't think the pressure is on Stan Harder, he's a former national finals contestant in the calf roping. A great, great guy, and what a roper. In fact, this team, and I don't remember exactly when it was, a couple of years ago at a California rodeo, where if you go to a California rodeo, I'll guarantee you you're going to find good team ropers. They won both go-arounds in the average. So if you think Mac Baldridge hasn't been in the winning circle, you're wrong. They can do it. Stan Harder, he wants everything just right. The pressure is on him. If he doesn't catch the head, then the folks that are here to see Mac rope the heels are not going to have a chance. I'd hate to have that pressure on me. Stan may rise to the occasion. No, he misses that head loop. Now, even though they may not have a chance to win it, in team roping rules, you have a bonus loop. And the audience is cheering, use the other one. Stan, go ahead and rope him so Mac can rope with the heels, and he's going to do that. He's a game competitor. The steer hanging around the far end of the arena, he's going to be a little hard to rope. So Stan misses with that second head catch. And Mac Baldridge, our Secretary of Commerce, doesn't have a chance to show whether he could win or lose. He didn't get a chance to throw his rope. So the winners are Dick and J.D. Yates in the team roping. Now we go to the bull riding, and I'm sure as we go to this contest that some of our folks in the audience, the majority of them not acquainted with our sport, has to be thinking this is a tough way to make a living. Leading us off 7 times champion of the world, Don Gay out of Mesquite, Texas. Now this is the first bull that he's been on in nearly a year. He has been out with an injury, recovering all during the '83 season. Making a good ride here. What a comeback for this guy. It is good to see Don Gay back in action. a successful ride, and a 72 score. You think these cowboys aren't dedicated to the presidential rodeo? This guy came off of an injury, as we mentioned, hadn't been on a bull in nearly a year, but he did make the comment that if he got along well on this bull and felt good, he may take a run at it next year for an 8th title in the bull riding. Bobby Del Vecchio, he's been in a tight battle with Cody Snyder, who we'll see a little later on in this contest, for the championship of the world. This cowboy comes from the Bronx, New York, and that has to be a little fascinating in itself. He's turning in a good bull ride here. This guy has a lot of pride, and there's nothing he'd like more than to win the presidential rodeo. Kind of a wild exit there. He salutes the president, throws kisses to the audience. He's a colorful cowboy, and he's going to like this 77 score. Look at the moves that he's putting on this bull. He's riding, as we have said before, like the world title was at stake here today. And I think it is in pride for all of these contestants. Justly so. The reigning champ of the world from Los Angeles, California. This is Charles Sampson. All right, here's a rank old bull that he's drawn today. Gets out, no, comes down over that bull's head. That looked like a bad deal, and I think Charlie is hurt. I believe he is hurt seriously. As we see some of the boys down there in the arena calling for the paramedics to come in. Now, hopefully we'll have another look at this. It looked like Charlie came down over the front of the bull and took a shot right on the top of the bull's head, right there. Yes, that's where he got it. And this is, I'm afraid, a very, very serious injury for this young man. Now, our paramedics are seeing to Charlie at this time, and our good wishes from all of us going out to him. You see the concern on the president's face as our audience offers their support to this young man as he's removed from the arena. Charlie Sampson. This is the man that we talked about a little earlier, in strong contention for the world title. In fact, this week he's in the lead for it. He comes from Canada, and his name is Cody Snyder. What a fine young man he is. Now, Cody has drawn a rank bull here today, and again, we refer back to the draw and the fact that our contestants in all of the events have to compete on the animals drawn by our Wrangler Pro officials. He needs a good ride. He needs something over a 77 to take the crown away from Bobby Del Vecchio here today, and he may have a chance to do it. That bull literally jerked the rope right out of Cody's hand much too early in the ride. And there you can see Ben Eby kind of cheering him on from the barrel as we take another look at Cody's ride. That bull taking a strong lunge to the right. Eric Veers in there close at hand to protect the cowboy. He's our official bullfighter for the rodeo here in the bull riding. A man that was in the lead nearly all of the year, but back in July encountered an injury. John Davis out of Idaho was taken out of action for about 30 or 40 days. He's back strong now and not out of the race for the world title by any means. Let's watch John. Howard Harris, one of our stock contractors, looking on.
What's he doing here today?
All right, John tapped out well with this bull. Now, I'm sure this has to be amazing to our fans and the audience today. A great big 1,800-pound bull spinning, lunging, jerking on that rope, and to see these athletes handle them as they do. John Davis completes a good ride, and a 77 score for John. He moves into a deadlock for the lead in the bull riding along with Bobby Del Vecchio. So as we watch the re-ride by John Davis, we cap off the bull riding with a tie, and two very happy cowboys are going to pick up a gold buckle from the president. It is Bobby Del Vecchio and John Davis sharing the bull riding. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, sometimes animals don't cooperate with everything that you have planned. We'd like to ask you now to just kind of share a little Americanism with us as we prepare to close our show with a cowboy song. God bless America again. She's overcome the troubles she's been in. Wash her pretty face, dry her eyes, and then God bless America again. Ladies and gentlemen, as our champions, our contestants, and all of our staff comes into the arena for one last time, again, we'd like to salute you for the leadership that you've provided in keeping our world free. You know, we're proud of our way of life as cowboys, but most of all, we're proud to be Americans. So we'll wash our pretty face, then we'll dry her eyes, and then God bless America again. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, just one more thing, if we may. We'd like to say that we're very, very happy that we live in a country where we can be champions, and sir, we consider you to be a champion yourself, so we'd like to invite you to come down on the arena floor with us, all right? Indeed. A true champion. Mr. President, thank you for being with us, sir.
I'm pleased to be here. I think I'd be speaking for all of you if I said a heartfelt thank you to all these people who have entertained us so royally here today. There aren't too many activities in this land of ours, with all the many things we do, that are as purely American as what we have seen here. We're very proud of all of you and grateful to you. You know, a rodeo here on the East Coast, I think, establishes the fact that rodeos are now a national sport, not just a kind of a Western pastime. Madison Avenue, the advertising business, they found that out a long time ago. They found out Americans still love cowboys and cowgirls. And, of course, there's been one advertisement that I've never quite understood. And that is that one, the picture, and there's a cowboy out there in the middle of a herd of cattle, and the caption on the picture is, "Come where the flavor is." But, again, I just want to thank you, and what a bit of West you brought here. You know, we have a ranch in California, and tomorrow I'm getting on an airplane and going to New York. But God bless all of you. It's been a wonderful day, and all of this has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President, for being our honored guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please, we ask if you would remain in your places for a few moments until the presidential party has left the area. Thank you.
Standing in front of the White House with the Washington Monument and Lincoln Memorial in full view, fresh on our minds is a memorable command performance of professional rodeo.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
The feelings and emotions are almost indescribable.
Mr. President, President Sean Davis, and distinguished members of the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, ladies and gentlemen, the easiest press question I ever got happened about 6 months after I came to Washington, and someone had just run out of common sense questions, so they said, Mr. Secretary, what is the difference between the rodeo circuit and the Washington circuit? And I said, well, that's simple. Cowboys don't usually talk unless they got something to say. And that got me by that one. But that's a true statement. We're pleased to honor men and women here who I think typify the virtues of both self-reliance and independence that made this country great. And when you get out west, where these people were raised in most cases, you learn that self-reliance when you're knee-high. And out of that self-reliance comes the independence that's helped our country in the past and will in the future. And when I say independent, I mean independent. I have been honored to be a member of the board of directors of the Rodeo Cowboys Association and of President Reagan's cabinet. And when it comes to independence, I've got to say, Mr. President, as independent as your cabinet is, they come in second to the board of directors of the Rodeo Cowboys Association. I'll never forget, when I was a director, we had one director, Cody Bill Smith, who would wait usually until all of the votes had been cast on the board, around the boardroom, because if they were all yes or all no, whichever side he was on, he'd vote against it, because he didn't want his constituency thinking that that august body had gotten together and made any kind of a deal before the open discussion. We, I think, have in common the same vision of the future and an abiding faith in it that you do, Mr. President, and I think we share the same reverence for the traditions of the past. I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be part of this group, and I know they're all proud that you've honored them by asking them here. I'd like now, if I may, to ask Ken Stemler from the PRCA if he would give out the awards that were won today. Ken?
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, it's with a great deal of honor that I'm able to announce the winners of our rodeo this afternoon. The Rodeo Cowboys were pleased to provide that competition for all of the members of government, to salute our government, for which we're very proud. And we're also very proud to ask you tonight to present each of these winners this afternoon the belt buckles that signify that they've won that rodeo. The bareback rider was tied, J.C. Trujillo and T.J. Walters. If one of these gentlemen will take the buckle, and we'll match that buckle, since it was a tie, later in the month. The steer wrestling winner was Joel Edmondson. Joel's right behind you, sir. Calf roping winner was Joe Parsons. The saddle bronc riding winner was Bobby Brown. The team roping was a father and son team of Dick Yates and J.D. Yates. The ladies' barrel racing was Khaki Liebert. And we also had a tie in the bull riding with Bobby Del Vecchio and John Davis. And I know those cowboys will wear those special belt buckles with pride. There's probably only one other belt buckle in the world, and that has that same significance, and that's the belt buckle of the one at the National Finals Rodeo for the World's Champions, and we appreciate your presenting them, sir. Thank you.
Pleased to do that. Don't let these few pieces of paper scare you. I once had a lesson in the importance of brevity in a speech. I had made a speech, and in the audience was the late Bill Alexander, a preacher from Oklahoma, and he took it upon himself to tell me the story of his first sermon, and I thought there was a connection. He said that he'd worked his first appearance in the pulpit. He'd worked for weeks on this first sermon, and then he was to preach at an evening service in a little country church in Oklahoma. He stood up in the pulpit that night and looked out at a church that was empty except for one lone little fellow sitting down there in all the empty pews. So after the music, he went down and he said, "Look, my friend, I'm just a young preacher getting started. You seem to be the only member of the congregation that showed up. What about it? Should I go through with it?" The fellow said, "Well, I'm a little old cowpoke out here in Oklahoma. I don't know much about that sort of thing, but I do know this. If I loaded up a truckload of hay, took it out in the prairie, and only one cow showed up, I'd feed her." Well, Bill took that as a cue, got back up in the pulpit, and an hour and a half later said, "Amen." And he went back down and he said, "My friend, you seem to have stuck with me, and like I told you, I was a young preacher getting started. What did you think?" "Well," he says, "like I told you, I don't know about that sort of thing. But I do know this. If I loaded up a truckload of hay, took it out in the prairie, and only one cow showed up, I sure wouldn't give her the whole load." Secretary Baldridge, Ken Stemler, and all of you, welcome to the White House, and congratulations to all of you winners. This has been a very special day. Watching you out there riding those bulls, I knew that I was among a group that understands what it's like to get a legislative program through Congress. Secretary Baldridge has proven himself a multi-talented cabinet member. Every time we come up to a real problem, he has the same solution. "I'll rope 'em, you tie 'em." After watching all of you in action, I think Mac and I could put you all to work up here. When I was about the age of some of you, I joined the horse cavalry, and in those days they still had horses in the Army, and I've enjoyed them ever since. It was heartwarming today to see the children out there from the Therapeutic Riding Association. I think we can all be happy that the National Therapeutic Riding Center provides these very special kids this kind of experience. And I know the results have proven that something I learned back in the cavalry is true. And that is that there's nothing so good for the inside of a person as the outside of a horse. American cowboy remains a figure that is dear to the hearts of American people. The men and women of the Old West may not have been as slick as they were sometimes portrayed by Hollywood, but there was a certain integrity of character that shines through as we look back at them from the vantage place of history. Now, today we have an author with us, an author who has made enormous contributions to Western folklore and our frontier heritage. Louis L'Amour's storytelling ability has made him one of the most widely read novelists in American history. 140 million copies of his books have been sold. He's written 87 books, many of which have been adapted for motion pictures and television. He's a man who, like the rodeo. See, I've been east too long. Brought the West to the people of the East and to people everywhere. Former Senator Milton Young, Senators Andrews and Armstrong, along with Congressman Carlos Moorhead, have spearheaded an effort that I'm proud to participate in today. If Louis will step forward. There you are. You sneaked up on me, just like Beaudry.
That's right.
Well, I have the honor to present to you a very special Congressional Gold Medal. It is for your literary contributions, your contributions to the appreciation of the West, and you are the first novelist who has ever been honored by Congress with this medal.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, today, Louis L'Amour and those of you from the rodeo, you represent this great tradition of the American West. And I know America means a lot to you. I just want you to know that you mean much more to America. I wish you success and good health. Thanks for the fine exhibition today. And now, because of the business that I used to be in, I've saved the applause line for last. Let's eat.
What's the procedure? What are we going to go?
Oh, yeah.
So So this brings to a close a moment for all of us that can never be forgotten. As we of Pro Rodeo stand on the White House lawn with the sounds of our good friend Red Stegall and the Coleman County Cowboys playing in the background, I guess we can proudly say that Pro Rodeo as a sport has come of age and officially arrived on the American scene.